Americans, historically a diverse people. Indian, European, African, Asian, and Hispanic. Men and women of different religions and different cultures. We are all Americans. But in the past, the office and other work sites have not reflected the diversity of the people. That has changed. Today, for the first time in history, white males are the minority in the American workplace. Only 46%. 75% of those entering the workforce will be minorities and women. Diversity is a fact of life.
It is absolutely clear that we have to manage diversity right now and much more so in the future, because we will not be able to survive. American business will not be able to survive if we do not have a large, diverse workforce, because those are the demographics. No choice. Well, if you fail to include women and minorities, first of all, you've restricted yourself from a major part of the labor pool, which economically just doesn't make sense. But beyond that, one of the major advantages that you get out of having women and minorities in the business is they bring a whole new set of ideas. And right now, American business needs new ideas and thoughts if we're going to compete on a worldwide basis. A company that gets out in front managing diversity, in my opinion, will have a competitive edge.
All of business, be it the public or the private sector, the profit or the not-for-profit organizations, need to value diversity in the workforce. Most of us are in business to offer a product, to give particular services. Both public and private sectors serve the community. In order to deliver the products and the services they need, we need to understand who they are and what they're all about.
And unless we decide to manage diversity, diversity is going to manage us. The demographics will dictate. If you want talent, and talent is colorblind, then you have to be able to aggressively recruit and retain the best talent. And retention means having that best talent perform to their maximum.
You can't just hire large numbers of women and minorities into your business and think that it'll work. You need a process to identify the right experiences that people will need to move ahead in the business. You need to have training programs for your managers that talk about managing diversity. What are the issues of managing minorities and women? Because there are things that are different.
Today's managers do not have the skills to manage diversity. We have been taught, we have been trained in every management workshop on all the things that assume homogeneity. I have been rewarded on managing everybody the same, getting the same results, giving them the same performance appraisal, giving them the same kind of feedback.
The problem with maintaining a white male standard as the norm and measuring everyone against that is you set up a sizable portion of your workforce for failure, because there's no way I will be perceived as a white male. There's an argument that says that because we're all equal, blacks, white, males, female, we're the same. The fact that we are equal does not mean that we are the same. It just means that while we may have differences and we may come at things in different ways, those are of equal value.
But in reality, no one treats everyone equally, because part of being a professional is to be analytical, to make choices, to discern between options. And I think what people are looking for, rather than equal treatment, and what we should look for, is fair treatment of individuals. And part of that is acknowledging that people are different, stimulated by different needs, by different desires, by different operational styles. And a good manager, looking at cultural diversity, is aware of the fact that individuals, as individual human beings, react differently for a great variety of reasons, and one of those aspects may be culture.
If I were planting a garden and I wanted to have a number of flowers, I would never think of giving every flower the same amount of sun, the same amount of water, and the same soil. I'd be sure to groom and cultivate each individual breed of flower differently. Does that mean the rose or the orchid are less than because I have to do more with them? No, but it enhances the total picture.
Blacks or minorities in general are constantly being challenged. They're giving projects on top of projects. So we're going to have to quit playing games. We're going to have to quit constantly testing and over-testing and retesting minorities, where we don't do that with the white manager, because the assumption with the white manager is that anything that he is weak in or lacking in, he will come along in the future.
It's about time we filled the spot Rob Wells vacated. Any ideas?
Are you looking inside?
Yes, I'd like to promote from within.
Have you considered Zach Bennett or Fred Campo?
No, the natural for the job is Beth Smith. She's been running the department since Rob left. In fact, she was running it while he was still here.
Yeah, but do you think she can hold her own as a department head?
Oh, absolutely. She has the credentials. People like working for her. She's a great analyst, and she works harder than anyone.
Why don't I know her?
One of the major concerns with women is that they are invisible. Most men don't recognize their existence and legitimize it.
Do you think Beth Smith is right for the job? I'll talk with her.
She's already up to speed.
They are often ignored, not heard in meetings, and there's a real frustration factor. It happens. I've seen it happen. I've been a part of it.
Well, you've all had time to think about Bill's proposal, so let's get right to it. Any reactions?
I think it's innovative and workable.
I agree. It's definitely worth a try. But one element of departmental budgeting that we seem to be overlooking is the accurate forecasting of staffing needs.
Bill, your reclassifying of inventory won't cause mass confusion, though, will it?
Maybe initially. The process is similar to what we're using right now. So after the initial switchover, there shouldn't be any major problems.
I think that my point is connected to Bill's proposal. To use my department as an example, we don't seem to be considering the fact that when I was promoted, no one below me was promoted to fill my former position. And we've lost support staff in key places.
Maybe we should phase it in gradually, say, starting in the smaller departments to work out the kinks.
It's not the size of the department, but the function that's important. I say we move from service towards production.
I agree with Beth. We have lost key staff. If this plan is going to work, it seems to me that we need 10-20% increase down the road.
You're right, Kenji. We will need to pay more attention to staff forecasting.
Well, of course, these figures will vary with the implementation schedule. I'll work some more on the staffing issue.
Good work, Bill. Let's take a break. I'm hungry. Ready? Where to for lunch?
Where's Beth?
Oh, don't worry about her. She never goes to lunch.
John, could you bring in the Anderson file, please? Thanks.
Well, this scene, unfortunately, does occur still in today's business world. In this case, a woman is a minority. She's an individual in there among a group of men. And they haven't learned to, A, respect her feelings, and maybe, B, she hasn't learned yet to be as assertive in the discussion.
Beth had good comments. They obviously made sense. She'd obviously knew what she was talking about. But the minority person has to really work at being heard harder than the white male who is an accepted member of the club.
I'm sorry to hear that Beth took that other offer right after a promotion.
I had a long talk with her about it. She said she thought she had great ideas, but people didn't listen to her. She said she felt like she really didn't belong. I guess I don't blame her. People ignore me, I'd leave too.
Ignore her? I never even saw her. She was never around. She never spoke up in meetings.
But she did. I think after a while she got bitter and just withdrew.
It's a shame. Now we have to look for someone else.
Recognize the amount of time people spend at work. It's important that people feel they belong. The organization becomes part of our lives. If you feel that you can never belong, that you're not really welcome, there's really no reason for staying.
It was lonely and unrewarding. I went to work full of energy and commitment, ready to give my all, and I think I could have made a real contribution.
It's a matter of getting the male to come forward and recognize what's going on, and some, I think, do, but one of the men in the group can have the courage to say, wait a minute, Beth's trying to tell us something. Why don't we hear her out? Maybe she's got an idea that will help us solve this problem.
It is the responsibility of each manager to make sure that all members of the group are included and valued.
To fill my former position. And we've lost support staff in key places.
Maybe we should phase it in gradually, say, starting in the smaller departments to, well, to work out the kinks.
Just a second, Bob. I want to hear the full story on staffing before we move on to the next issue. Beth?
Membership can be extended in small ways through coaching, making sure that the people that work for you feel that there is a concern for them as individuals.
Beth, would you join us for lunch? You know, sometimes a lot more gets accomplished at these lunches than at those meetings. I don't want you to miss out. And don't tell me you're too busy.
The consequence of organizations not recognizing, not rewarding, not developing, not promoting women and minorities is simply that these women and minorities leave.
If dollars and cents is what turns you on, then you've sacrificed a heck of a lot of recruiting and training costs. And in a broader people sense, you've sacrificed some diverse points of views that might have made your operation a lot richer.
You want them to succeed. And the only way that people are going to succeed is by being told when they are doing it correctly and when they are not doing things correctly. One of the big responsibilities you have is to make sure they understand the rules.
Unwritten rules are a fact of society. In most situations, nothing is ever put down in black and white. The issue is that if there is an unwritten rule that's going to impact someone's likelihood for promotion, a good manager must communicate this to a person so something that is not relevant to their actual performance does not derail this individual.
Each organization has a style and expectations for behavior. For example, who socializes with whom? Who gets copies of communications? How bosses and subordinates relate in meetings, and presentation styles.
This will be a piece of cake. Ricardo's first presentation. I hope he doesn't blow this. Maybe I should have asked someone else.
Today, Ricardo Ortiz will present his recommendations for a new business venture for us. It's a new product coming out of Don's department. Don, do you have anything to say?
No. Ricardo, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm here today to ask for $12 million. Now, the decision to allocate $12 million for this product is really very simple. There are 3 questions. Can we make it? Will someone buy it? And can we make a decent margin on it?
So far, so good.
The answer to those 3 questions is yes. Now, if someone would please sign this check, we could get on with other business.
Don't get funny on me. Not with this group.
The answer to the first 2 is readily obvious. I'll spend most of my time on the financials. The product is up and running. We've had 3 of them in the lab going on 3 months without any problems. It's clear we can make it. And our research shows that there is a market for it. I'll let Joe Hines present the market data. But the bottom line is...
He's not prepared. Where are his slides? Where are his charts?
7% annually, until saturation at 86% of households.
Why is he so emotional? It's a simple presentation, not a political speech.
Stay with it before we get competition. There are significant barriers to entry, and we are the only manufacturers.
Why isn't the long-term profitability higher?
The initial price probably isn't high enough.
I can answer that question. Are they trying to make a fool of me? Should I ignore her?
Maybe we should take a short break before questions.
Good idea, Don. Let's take 15 minutes. He cut me off. I'm so embarrassed.
Well, I did my best. I gave him a chance, but he just isn't ready.
He made a fool of me in front of all these people. I'll never do this again.
Was Ricardo Ortiz unprepared, or was he judged differently because of his looks, manner, or accent? In fact, this presentation is almost identical to one made by a white male who did get his $12 million budget. But sometimes we let unimportant differences in style obscure the quality of the content.
The obvious question that one might ask oneself is, hadn't the boss and Ricardo talked before the presentation? It seems to me that an important aspect of being a good manager, irrespective of culture, is to be a support mechanism, an assistant to one's employees. What the boss would have done logically was to prompt Ricardo on what works most effectively in that environment.
Ricardo, since this is your first presentation to this group, how would you feel about a few pointers?
I'd welcome them.
This group you'll be talking to is a pretty buttoned-down crowd. Your presentation will have to be formal. Bullet points, slides and graphics, and a nice, even style. I'd save the jokes until you get to know everyone. Watch out for Deborah. She's thorough and asks good, tough questions. Just take your time and answer her directly. If you get a draft ready by Tuesday, I'll look it over if you want.
Thank you, that would be great.
All right.
The organization that values diversity must sometimes change the rules to support diversity, to encourage individuals to contribute in their own ways.
And we are the only manufacturers
Why isn't the long-term profitability higher?
I share Ricardo's enthusiasm. But you have raised an interesting question, Deborah, and I think Ricardo can answer that one for you.
I'm glad you asked that, Deborah. The answer is clones. Because competition is very strong, and that will affect pricing.
Coaching and sharing membership may be complicated for the minority manager.
The greatest challenge I face is how to help the subordinate fit in and function in the organization without losing the unique qualities that he or she brings.
As a black woman, sometimes I do encounter difficulties in managing a white male. Often they try to go over your head, or if you give them an assignment to do, they will do the assignment but report back to your supervisor, and it makes it very difficult to accomplish whatever task it is at hand. And it also reflects badly on your managerial style and ability.
The subordinate can get away with this kind of behavior when he perceives that management does not have a united front. It's very important for managers on the same level and middle management and higher-ups to understand that they have to be supportive of each other in order to have an effective workforce. We all have to understand that an effective workforce means increased productivity.
Allowing a manager to fail hurts the organization and promotes stereotypes. The original stereotype was a printing machine that produced an image from a mold over and over again. We do the same thing when we stereotype people. We take a few notions about a group and see all individuals in that group as being the same. We make automatic assumptions, and inevitably, we make mistakes. What are these people talking about? Sports? Gossip? Or perhaps family matters? Wasting company time? And what are these men talking about? Business? You would not be alone if you assumed the white men are talking about work, but the others are wasting time.
The assumption when we see two women talking, two men talking, two Hispanics talking, is that the non-whites are talking about social things versus the whites talking about real business.
And then if you get the data to me today, then I can get you the answer by Friday.
Fed funds are up 25 basis points and the Dow is down 85.
That'll boost the prime.
Assumptions are often quite wrong.
Yeah, about washing diapers. Those new disposables are just wonderful. You know, they're easy to fasten, snug around the legs.
Oh, yeah? That is great, because we're so tired of ours leaking all over everything.
We make assumptions about all kinds of groups. Disabled and older people, for example, are thought to be fragile or happy to have a job at all, so their abilities are doubted and their careers are ignored. It's normal to make assumptions about others, but we must be ready to test our assumptions and to separate our judgment of an individual from our expectations of the group.
We have to recognize that we are products of a society where assumptions are readily available to us. If I walk into the workplace and I assume that Asians cannot manage and that Asians are technicians, I might have overlooked the best manager that my organization could ever have. But I said, no, 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 no. They're not good at leading. They're only good at working. So it is my responsibility to make sure that I know when those assumptions are running, that I catch myself.
Dave, tell me about the design you've been working on.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I haven't completed it yet. It's scheduled for next month.
Oh, that's all right. Just off the top of your head, what are your ideas so far?
I really would need my notes. The facts are not quite pulled together yet. It might be a lot better if I could prepare a report for you next week.
I hate to say this, Dave, but it worries me not to see any progress. Are you having problems?
Oh, no problems. I'm making good progress.
Then tell me. I need to.
Even when an individual seems to fit a stereotype, it is important to analyze all the assumptions that are being made to avoid wrong conclusions.
You have applied for promotion to manager of the Orchard Group. Your technical work has been good. But what makes you think you can manage people?
Well, I was privileged to be allowed to work with a very strong group. One of the greatest contributions the team made was the beta system. 3 weeks under schedule.
I know that. But this Orchard Group is a tough bunch of egos to manage.
It would be my honor to join that group.
Well, yes, but why should you get this promotion?
During the past 3 years, I've been involved in many team efforts that went very well.
Dave is not likely to take credit for himself. It would seem like bragging. In many cultures, to assert oneself would be rude and arrogant. Knowing this, the manager must look for other evidence of accomplishment.
Exactly how did the team work together? What was Henry's role? What was Jim's role? What did you do?
Look at results and reconsider job criteria. Is aggressiveness really a requirement? Other traits can be as important. For example, intelligence, persistence, and the ability to foster harmony and collaboration. People get to the same goal in different ways, and when an employee lacks certain skills, coaching can fill the gaps.
To manage a diverse workforce, I think, first of all, the manager obviously has to be very conscious that that's what he's doing, and then he has to make a special, probably, effort to understand the differences within his workforce and be able to communicate.
Every individual is complex. Some perceived differences are only in the eye of the beholder, but there are real cultural differences. Different cultures have different attitudes about the roles of boss and subordinate. American Indians, for example.
Hey, how did you do that?
Old Indian trick.
Nah, come on, really, it's neat. What did you do? Come on, you can show me. Has Ed seen you do this?
I don't think so.
Well, you should show him. It's really great.
I couldn't do that.
Sure you could.
I'd be too embarrassed.
What, you think he's got all the answers?
Yeah, he's the boss.
Ed!
No, it's no big deal. Let's get back to work.
Ed, you've got to see this. She has a great new technique.
This is great, Elaine. Everyone, can I have your attention, please? I want to show you what Elaine has done here. She's found a new way to bind these wires. This is the kind of contribution I like to see around here. Good work, Elaine. Let's give her a little hand, huh?
That is a good job. Good job.
That, to me, was clearly a fact of not being able to understand or not having even the curiosity to find out about what makes her feel good. As a manager, our task is to motivate. And if we are arrogant enough to think that the same carrot works for everybody, our head is in the sand. So for that manager, it was incumbent on him to learn who is my audience, who am I motivating, and what does motivation mean?
Where's Elaine?
Workers may need to be encouraged to share their ideas, but some people are uncomfortable with public attention.
She was really embarrassed after her work was held up in front of everyone, especially her Indian friend.
It would have been nice if you checked with me first or asked somebody else how someone of my culture might feel about it.
Elaine, that was a valuable contribution to the company. Here's a copy of the note I put into your personnel file.
Thank you, Ed. That's really nice.
The greatest challenge is to understand and to respect the differences in values that people bring to the workplace. I have to remember that all people are not motivated in the same way. And I have to be sensitive to those differences when I hand out criticisms as well as rewards. To get the best out of people, I have to know and do what best works for them.
The cultural values in many organizations are white male and based on European traditions. But adapting to modern realities, many organizations are changing in order to embrace and value diversity.
There's a lot of discussion about compromise in promoting women and minorities, and I would like to get it out of our vocabulary because it's not necessary. If you give the people the right experiences, then the normal measurement system of competence and results will prove itself.
Organizations cannot and should not compromise their standards. It would be demeaning to the diverse workforce that they've brought in. Competence is gender and race neutral.
Organizations with the competitive edge are those that make the best use of the richness of our diverse human resources. Men and women of different races and ethnic backgrounds have made major contributions to their organizations. They have successfully launched new products or programs, reorganized divisions, improved public relations, or in countless other ways enhanced the bottom line. But for diversity to be an advantage, it must be deliberately and well managed. Know that assumptions affect your decisions, and don't let those assumptions interfere with good management. Open membership to others who are different and give them what they need to succeed. Access to information and meaningful relationships. Share the rules and change the rules when necessary to allow for the benefits of diversity. Treat people equitably but not uniformly. Build on individual differences. Value diversity.
Understand that over the longer term, the successful manager is going to have to deal with large numbers of minorities and women in business. And I presume that most managers want to be successful, want their company to be successful, and therefore don't walk away from it, walk up to it.